Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We are positively putting together the Maryland Crab Cake Tour presented by our friends at the Maryland Lottery, where we let ourselves play. We're going to be playing on Thursday to make up for my bad back last week. Going to be at Silver Spring Mining Company with Councilman David Marks, among some others. Rob Santoni from Wise is coming over. We're going to be Friday at the Chop Tank in Fells Point. Crab cakes. It has been a month since I've had a crab cake, and it's been a couple of years since I've been back to the Twin Cities, town I love a lot. We only play them every 4 years. They come here every 8. We go there every 8. I did get a Super Bowl bonus in that first year when the birds were flying into the little glass menagerie there. And I almost went to see Mick Jagger and Keith Richards do the magic that they did. I decided to go to St. Louis, where I blew my back out, instead of going to Minnesota. This guy is from our parts. He is, dare I say, a Marylander by birth or raising.
Amen.
Yeah, you are PA on the mic. He is Paul Allen. He's been a friend of mine for a long time in Minnesota, and I don't have you on often enough. I love your sense of humor. You call the games. You call races. We have a good time. But, dude, I watch a football game Sunday night. Boy, your team right now, you don't want to talk football. You want to talk about rock and roll and stuff, right?
No, I'm good, man. And when the Stones were here a couple of Sundays ago, Nestor, and you mentioned you were going to come in, I had an opportunity to go to that show and I didn't. And
why not?
I regret it. Well, because being a massive Daryl Hall fan, and given my, it's tough to see my guy Daryl sing now.
No. So Daryl had not. He wasn't playing. Hall and Oates weren't playing at the amphitheater that night.
I know. Well, that's where it's a major mistake on my part, being an old school music connoisseur, is just assuming everybody in their 70s has lost the swerve on certain songs. I just couldn't get over the hump to go. It was the bye week.
You hated Hall and Oates? I saw Hall and Oates a couple months ago.
And now I regret that I didn't go, because everybody I know who gets music was just like, holy cow, Mick just got out there and kicked ass, man.
Yeah.
We got our asses kicked Sunday night, and it was very frustrating. In fact, now about 24 hours, roughly a day removed from the game, there are just things that are agitating me early in the week up to this Ravens game that I didn't think would pop up this time of the year. And, we've lost Danielle Hunter, a game-changing defensive end for the season. And we're not really that banged up, though. I mean, we're not like Ravens banged up. So it's tough to sit here and bitch about injuries, but Danielle is that important to the defense. And we just seem fragile right now, man. Like, you can just do that at a given time and we just go down.
The weird part for me is, I've been up there. I went to the Metrodome for games. I was there for the Super Bowl back in '92. So, but when I've been to Minnesota, the 2 or 3 times, the skull thing, the fans that's been built there, stuff that even Billick, when he was the OC during the glory years, wouldn't recognize, that the modern fan base of all the places I go, that's intimidating. Seattle's intimidating. Kansas City. I mean, you go to all these places too, and I've been going for 25 years. Your place is kind of filthy. I remember when Favre was there the one year we went in. I mean, your place is a tough place to play in either one of the domes, the old Blimp or this one. And I heard Cowboy fans getting kind of chippy at the end.
Yeah.
There were a lot of them, and I thought, well, that's very not Minnesota nice. I didn't like that because I don't like them. I mean, I like Zimmer. I like you. I pull for the Vikings.
You like Bob
They'll
Hagan.
break your heart, dude. I mean, I hope I live long enough like these Chiefs people to finally see them. I don't want to see the Browns win, and I don't care about the Bengals. But you guys, I want to see you win at some point, before
one thing I don't think I've shared with you, since we haven't chatted in so long, but Browns coach Kevin Stefanski, that's a surrogate brother of mine. He was with the Vikings for 15 years, and Kevin and I became friends in my 5th year calling games. And how about this?
I had Marvin
Sunday
run
Cowboys,
with the Bengals for 2 decades, so I hear you.
I called my 400th game.
Hey, PA, look at you.
With the Cowboys. So that's how long, Vikings Cowboys, that's how long I've known Kevin.
Hold on, you've done 400 games. That means 20 years, right? 20 games
20
a year,
yeah.
give or take?
20 on the button. I'm in my 20th.
Okay, fair enough.
But I get Browns and Ravens. I get it. Kevin was coach of the year last year. I always knew he'd be a head coach. His father, Ed, former general manager for the New Jersey Nets, the Sixers, the Raptors, the Grizzlies, the Pistons, and I love the NBA. So Kevin and I are like this. I mean, without, I don't want to offend anybody, but
He's in the way right now.
he's
Marvin
kind
was
of like
in the
my
way.
best friend I've ever had in my 20 years working in the NFL, and I've had a lot of unbelievable friends. But Kevin and I are brothers, man. And when the Browns came here and beat us for the first time in my NFL career, as players and coaches were getting off the second bus, I'm down on the field, and I said to a few of them, "You're my side team. You're my side team, man. I mean, I want my team to win today." And I'd love to see you at SoFi, but you're my side team, man. I hope the Browns go to the Super Bowl.
Oh God! Don't piss people off before you come to town. You got to come to town this week. If you want a proper crab cake, you'll be polite.
Yeah.
Paul Allen is here.
Oxon Hill in the house. Old school Oxon Hill will represent me, and if that doesn't work, I'll get back to my roots by RFK and go to Anacostia, and we'll whoop all of everybody's asses.
Right on. There you go. Old HC. I like old PG County. By the way, I called it PG County in Prince George's County. They like bristle. They got all like. It's not PG. It's Prince George's.
Yeah.
Are you that way?
I grew up in Prince George's County, Lord Baltimore Junior High School, Apple Grove Elementary, Private Hill Apartments, overlooking Rosecroft Raceway. Thus, I got bit at ages 11, 12, and 13. That led me to 35,000 race calls, and they're racing through the grace of God.
Did you ever take any voice lessons? I lost my voice 5 years into radio from screaming on the air, headset pots, mic, the whole deal. And Steve Whiteman, the singer from Kicks, was giving voice lessons. And you talk about guys that can still sing. I don't know if you're into, the Hammerjacks. I mean, they're the Baltimore Beatles, Kicks, right? I mean, they're from Hagerstown, So
yeah, do they play Saturday night when I'm there?
I don't know if they're in this week or not. I should check.
Yeah,
maybe.
Right, go.
But so Steve gave me voice lessons. And I actually talked to Tommy Shaw from Styx about this at the time because it was in the late 90s. And they did Throat Coat Tea. And then Steve had these warm-ups. La da 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 da. You do these things to warm up your pipes. I said to my wife, and I'm not kissing your ass because I don't have to do that, and you'll probably pick the bill up this week either way, even if we go to my spot. When you're in town this week, things are going to be proper here on Saturday night, but you already know that. I said to my wife, you're a really talented guy. I said you grew up sort of Caps-centric. I know you loved hockey, but you've called football for 20 years. You do sports radio. But the racetrack thing, bro, I'm not impressed by it. I mean, I could call football. I could probably figure that I wouldn't be any good at it. But horse racing, I could never, ever do that well. That is a gift, bro. I don't even, they had me come out to do it a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And just getting the horses' names and the silks and the jockey.
It's not nearly,
that.
It is absolutely, of all my jobs, it is the easiest of all my jobs, and it's not even close.
What?
Now,
Are you a savant? I mean, seriously.
I grew up in and around horse racing. I told you at ages 11, 12, and 13, I grew up overlooking Rosecroft Raceway, okay? So there was a horse named Come On Fred that I just loved. I could hear the announcer from my apartment balcony at Private Hill in Oxon Hill. And there was this horse, Come On Fred, and when he would make his big move, I would hear the announcer from my balcony in my room as I'm listening to Frank Herzog on WTOP do Bullets games with Elvin Hayes. I hear, "Come on, Fred," and "Come on, Fred." And I fell in love with it. So that's when it started. I'm telling you, a talented individual like you with the right kind of cash on the line, if you had 2 weeks and you called 8 a day, 9 a day, 36 times 4, whatever that is. If you called 150, you'd call it a career and you'd get all the money.
That's just not true. Paul Allen's here from Minnesota. He calls Vikings games. He calls races at Canterbury. He calls into the show once or twice a year, and I call into his from time to time. Yeah, give me a little primer on the Vikes right now. I mean, I don't just do sports anymore. I do a lot of politics. We're doing this crab cake tour. I've got business owners. We've had a plague. Our city's under siege. We got a baseball team that lost 100 and so many games I can't count. So things are weird. We have the best player on earth here, this number 8 you're going to see and have to chase around and try to figure out how to tackle. How are things in the give me a little Minnesota, not nice, Minnesota honest. Give me a primer on how things are.
Timberwolves have a legit superstar in Anthony Edwards. So they're markedly better. State of hockey, Wild, R is the Wild. Got this Russian kid, Kirill Kaprizov. He's not off to a great start, but he's special. He's a big-time player. That's cool, but they don't feel like a Stanley Cup team. Twins bottomed out. With the Vikings, the team lacks identity, Nestor. It's, we'll run up 571 yards one week, third most in the history of the team. And then, we won't be able to do anything like against Dallas. Then against Cleveland, we'll zip down the field against a team that was healthy with Myles Garrett and Baker. No Landry, though. And we'll go down the field and take a 7-0 lead. We can't lose, and then we lose. And then we're killing the Lions, and now all of a sudden we have to get down the field in 40 seconds to win. Just out of nowhere, a minute and change to go. Oh, my God, we're losing because of that fumble.
Dude, we had to kick a 66-yard field goal to beat them.
Tucker, though, can't wait to see him. Big fan. Matt Burke is on my radio show every Thursday, and we've talked about Joe Flacco, everybody with those Ravens teams, man. We just absolutely love it. Joe comes on the show every so often. But then, like week 2, we're at Arizona. They're one of the 6 best in the NFL. We whoop their ass, and all we need is a 37-yard field goal to win it, and the kid misses right. So it's just been like that, man. It's been freaking exhausting, Nestor. I ain't kidding you.
Well, I mean, it feels that way from the outside on the Viking thing because I know so many of you on the inside of it, and it's just, it's tiring when you're good and you feel like you can be good enough, but they don't feel good enough to me this year. Meanwhile, dude, I made my Super Bowl plans because we're going to try to broadcast out there, masks, I don't know, LA, and I started to think, like, our team might be good enough in the AFC. We had bye week this week. So I sat around and watched all the games, including you guys on Sunday night. I watched your buddy Stefanski, the Browns browned and the Bengals bengled against the Jets over the weekend. And I watched Red Zone, and there's no great team. I mean, there really isn't at all. And it's just sitting there. And I would think that Zimmer can feed that to the guys out there, too, and say.
You can, and especially from 3 and 4 to make the playoffs. Green Bay has done run away from us. So we get them after your squad and at the Chargers. Boy, that's sure nice. We're here, and then we go to Baltimore, then here, then out to L.A. Boy, that's going to be cool. With no Danielle Hunter, maybe the best 4-3 pass rushing defensive end in the NFL. That's going to be cool too. But anyway, we have Green Bay 3 games from now. So, a lot's going to be riding on that. But, I mean, let's be realistic, Nestor, because we've done it a long time. You know more people in this game than I'll ever know. But, I mean, I've been in some sticky situations, too, that I've seen. And until somebody chops the metaphorical head off 12 in Tampa Bay, ain't nobody beating them with all the money on the line. End of story. Nobody is beating the Buccaneers with all the money on the line until somebody figures out how to chop down Brady.
Paul Allen is here. He is P.A. on the mic. He's up in the Twin Cities calling races, calling football games, watching hockey games, and making the travel out here. For you with Lamar and seeing him from afar, and every 4 years you get to look at this, and you're watching Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, you see that what he does is so different, even against your pal with the Browns trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
3 years into this thing, the offensive line is in tatters, and you mentioned Burke. Things around here were never the same for Joe once Burke wasn't here because they never really figured that out. Then Yonda had it figured out, started to have some fun and said, I've had enough. They can't figure that out. They paid Ronnie Stanley. He got hurt the next game, and it's been a year. So they're playing with a 30-something left tackle that the Steelers couldn't use anymore. Zeitler. And the running back situation, I mean, Le'Veon Bell looked like he was running a quicksand last week. They got their ass kicked in the bye week going into bye by the Bengals.
Yep.
And we have you guys, we play Miami on Thursday right after you. We go down to Miami. And then we have Chicago. In Chicago, you mentioned them. These are 3 sort of winnable games, but I don't know I can't say to you that I think the Ravens are an elite team because I've seen their O-line, and then their tackling. Tackling was just abysmal, and it's been mostly bad most of the year. And Wink Martindale, Rob Ryan trying to figure this out. They drafted Patrick Queen. Um, I don't know if you heard, Malik Harrison got shot over the weekend.
Yeah.
Grazed with a bullet in Cleveland of all places. So it's been one of those years here where three running backs get hurt in the same week before the season begins. Injuries everywhere. Guys they wanted to get back, they haven't been able to get back. And Lamar is doing a lot of running into people, running into the ground, getting taken down. Not all this getting out of bounds. I mean, Lamar's taking hits now all of a sudden, and that's the worst nightmare around here because you can't believe in the Ravens if Lamar's going to be running linebackers 15 times a week.
Well, I mean, the overarching from the cornfields to the crab cake capital is I need to see Lamar make cold-blooded third down passes in the AFC title game and in the divisional round, and I need to see him pass in those circumstances before I can completely figure out who he is. I mean, I've heard coaches talk about him already. Yeah, I mean, he's big. We saw Kyler. Has Kyler run away from Lamar a little bit in the conversation? Now, Kyler's 5'11", one whatever, and Lamar's thick, and he's just so elusive. But, it's forcing somebody to be in the pocket, and whomever it is. I mean, it's like Cousins here. If you protect Kirk, he will kill any defense in the NFL, and you know that from being in Maryland. But it has to go A to B to C to D. The whole thing has to work.
And the running back's got to pick up the blitzer on the right side without getting him killed in the last play. It's got to work.
Lamar gets himself out of trouble better than Kirk and better than most quarterbacks in the NFL. I love Lamar, but in fairness, I just need to see him continue to advance in the postseason.
Paul Allen will be in town, probably having appropriate non-tourist crab cakes because he knows me. We'll probably take him over to Faley's or Costas. I'm out this week doing the Maryland Crab Cake Tour. Lots of crab cakes for me. Beat Silver Spring Mining Company on Thursday, and then on Friday down at Fells Point at the Chop Tank. What do they eat? You guys eat like the fish out of the lake up there, right? Isn't that the thing they do up there? Walleye? Is that it?
No, you know what, man? It's so medieval and caveman-like up here in the chilly upper Midwest in the cornfields. We're still waiting for our manna from heaven, and we're hoping somebody, like pokes into a rock and some water comes out. Otherwise, we're pretty hungry, pretty thirsty. It's pretty dire up here.
It is not, man. It's just cold as hell. That's all. I mean,
it's starting to get cold. I don't know if you can see it. This is like the first fire that
I see the fire pit back there. All right, I like that.
We're inside in the business. We call that a wood burning fireplace. But it's starting to get chilly up here now, man. What's it going to be like in Baltimore this weekend? 50s?
50s all week, upper 30s at night, and that
Good.
Is global sea change from last week where it was like 70 here till like Halloween, and then boom, it all changed this week. So,
oh, man.
Well, so when you come home, do you have family and stuff? Or you still consider yourself a DC native?
No, not really. No, not really. I mean, it's too long to tell the story from Idaho to Hawaii to Philippines to back to Idaho to DC to the Philippines to DC.
But you've been in Minnesota forever, though.
Yeah, so this is my home. I'm from Washington, D.C., and Oxon Hill and sports in Camp Springs and Bowie and Kettering and so on. Yeah, I'll never forget that. Chesapeake Bay Seafood House, not around anymore. Shout out to that. All you can eat, beginning with frog legs.
By the way, you loved when the Caps won, right? Like that felt good for you. Yeah,
absolutely. And I watched the Bullets win an NBA title, and maybe it was on TV, but I was at the Cap Center in Landover when they were playing Jack Sikma and the Sonics. So have
you ever had Nils Lofgren on your show?
Who?
Nils Lofgren from the E Street Band, the guitar player.
No, I have not.
Little lore for you. You should get him on at some point if he's coming through and doing it. He's a wonderful guy. But and he's been all over the world with Bruce, and his original band was Grin. But he wrote a song. He's from Silver Spring. He wrote a song in Google it, 75, 6, 7, 8, that era, Elvin A, West, the whole deal, called Bullets Fever. And it's very campy, 70s, kitschy. Bullets Fever. So make sure. So you're dropping that era. I want to give you that because There's not much with the Bullets, right? There's not much with the Wizards, really, right? Like,
Right.
there's no lore
Not
there at
really.
all.
You say 70s music, it's not campy, but I'm all wound up right now on like the last week and a half. The Bee Gees, Too Much Heaven, and Bee Gees, Love You Inside Out,
Yeah,
which
you saw
is,
the documentary, right?
yes,
Okay.
the Love You Inside Out is such a funky song. Oh my God. And then Too Much Heaven, No More.
Yeah, see,
It's
I'm a
just,
Nights on Broadway guy myself,
oh,
if
I love
you're
it. Nights
asking.
on Broadway's terrific, but Too Much Heaven, man, what a
I'm
beautiful
also a
song.
Barry Gibb, guilty a Barbara Streisand duet.
Oh
I'm very into
yeah,
that. Yeah, absolutely.
got
So,
nothing
so
to
I
be
want to let's go.
guilty
Forget
now.
football. Forget
Now,
Onies. Let you. You can
down.
sing it. Here we go. That's what you and I should do that next Halloween. We'll do a duet. You can
And
do the Barry
I'll
Gibb
be
part.
Barbara Streisand too.
You don't bring me flowers. You don't sing me love songs. Um, so what
Nestor on
happened
the
with you and
rocks.
Daryl Hall? What
What?
happened with you and Daryl Hall?
Well, I mean, I don't want to disrespect maybe the greatest voice in the history of music when he was atop his game. Mick Jagger was quoted in Rolling Stone in the calendar. No, excuse me, was quoted in the calendar section of the LA Times when I went to high school and junior college there. That somebody was asking him about voices. This is back in the early 80s, mid 80s. And Mick said, you can just stop it right there. This guy, Daryl Hall, when it comes to the technical wherewithal of what we do and the musicality of what we do, there's nobody better in the history of music than this guy. And that's what Mick Jagger said, is my opinion, too. Now, if you listen to Sarah Smile and She's Gone and Rich Girl, and just the way the man rides the range, and in his 70s, he can't ride the range. He just can't. Like, I went to see them in St. Paul, a tour they did, and Train was their opening act, and Train lead singer guy, who's phenomenal, Patrick something, right?
Monahan, yeah.
Okay, he sang the high notes in about 5 of the songs with Daryl Hall. So when our mutual friend Bob Hagan, who runs Vikings Public Relations, and 2 other public relations people, we were in England, and the Vikings were going to play the Cleveland Browns at Twickenham like 4 years ago. It just so happens Daryl Hall and John Oates were at the O in
The
London
arena, okay, nice.
the night before our game. So I plunked down money for all of us because it's so special to me, and I wanted them to see it, even though we had a couple of new schoolers. Went in there, and in that wonderful arena, man, he just kind of trudged through it. And I'm like, I just love him and them so much. I'm not going to see that anymore. And I don't go for, like, Maneater doesn't have any huge high notes. Certain songs don't need what I'm talking about, but I've seen those songs 8 million times. You know what I mean?
See, Mick Jagger was watching Tom Brady at 44 and saying, I'm not going to go out this way. I can't go for that. No can do. You know what I mean? So, Paul, I sat on the shelf for a year and a half, right? Like everybody else in the mask, couldn't go out. I went to 3 of the Ravens road games last year. I went down to Houston and sat in an empty stadium and just found that to be morose. I just didn't want to do
Awful.
that again. Just,
I hated calling Vikings home games last year with no fans in the palatial purple paradise. I mean, we weren't that good, but I just hated it. It was terrible. And doing road games from the home Minneapolis press box off the TV, I like that too much. And then I got a little fat and happy, and I'm like, F this, man. I mean, I'm 19 years into it, and like I'm mowing my lawn listening to Fan Line while my guys and my friends for 19 years are on a bus after a tough luck loss, waiting to go to a tarmac and fly back, and I need to be there. So back on the road with the guys now. I love M&T Bank Stadium, by the way. That stadium it does not get enough credit for a true raucous home field advantage, because everybody goes to the 12s, then they come to Minneapolis and the Superdome and Arrowhead and everything we've heard a million times. Nah, man, that stadium. Paul Gunther, former defensive coordinator for the Bengals, very good friend of mine through horse racing and football. And he's been there a million times, and he explained it to me. It's nasty in there, man. So, and off a bye. And by the way, how did these Ravens get 4 consecutive home games and a bye? Are you freaking kidding me with
we were
this?
on the road the whole first month and a half of the year.
4 home games consecutively? The last team that I could find earlier that did that was the 71 Miami Dolphins.
Well, I don't want to say this, but there were some emails, and Jeff passion. No, that was last week's news. I'm not sure. By the way, there has never been a more caustic week for that sort of stuff than infighting with owners and Kroenke. By the way, I saw the Stones in St. Louis, right? So I was not in Detroit with the team. I have not enjoyed. You want to play a little inside sausage? Let's play this. I've done this 25 years. I've done this for professionally 37 years now, going and talking to hockey players, athletes, coaches, learning about things, reporting things. And this notion that I haven't been in a room with a football player in 2 years, these press conferences are like hostage videos on Zoom last year. This year, it's a waste of my time to ask coach questions that he doesn't want to answer, and there's no locker room. So there's none of this. I've just discovered a whole other life. And I'll tell you this, music, you say what you want about Hall & Oates, whatever, it's going the other way. They're all getting older. They're all going away. Petty's dead. Prince is gone. I don't need to tell you in Minnesota. I'm trying to savor what's left of these concerts and shows.
You're right.
As we speak this week, the Fix is playing here. I'm not going. I blew my back out. I can't do much. Cheap Trick's playing this week, but I did see Rick Nielsen play with his family, with his son's daughter-in-law. They all got on stage and did Cheap Trick songs back at the first show I went to was in June. And it was Rick Nielsen and his family. And I went on a barrage all summer. I saw Alanis Morissette. I saw the Eagles twice. I saw shows all summer long because it's that important to me. I love music more than sports, Paul.
Yeah, and music is my number one hobby. Like into this computer, linking it to my TV or whatever, watching old midnight special videos and shows.
Right.
That's my hobby. That's outside of the Bible and some things that I do outside of sports. Watching live music is my number one hobby. Sports, calling races, doing the radio show, calling Vikings games. I love it. God bless me in a way where I've done it for a long time. But
the good news is you can win, but the bad news is you can play like you did on Sunday night. You don't feel good about it. And even though you didn't love the Hall & Oates show, I think we would all agree 96% of the concerts we've been to have been a pretty positive experience. Only a couple
I'd say
times,
96.
right?
I'd say 96.5. And the good thing is, at age 55, is the ones that I saw as a youth, like in Southern California, where I went to high school outside of LA. They had something called the US Festival, and my brother took me 2 days, where it's like 9 bands in a row, but it's Oingo Boingo, Gang of Four, The Fix,
Van Halen